The best chefs are creative in their cooking. They don't necessarily make a dish the same way every time. They use different techniques. They add surprising ingredients. The recipe might even sound strange or repulsive, but the result could be a one-of-a-kind culinary masterpiece. And in life, God is the master chef who providentially selects all the ingredients in our lives. So every part of your background adds a distinct flavor that makes you a one-of-a-kind creation. Now, you could say, I guess, that none of us are the right dish for every occasion, every palate. But you can still be confident that God has a purpose for the unique recipe that makes you who you are. Now, one of the potentially off-putting ingredients in the Apostle Paul's life was his background as a Pharisee. Gospels don't portray the Pharisees in a flattering light. Part of the problem is that in addition to the scriptures, the Pharisees believed in a body of oral traditions that were supposedly passed down from the time of Moses. They condemned Jesus for not following their extra-biblical rules, but he argued that their obsession with traditional minutiae masked their disobedience to the heart of God's commands. It may have even been that conflict between Jesus and the Pharisees that inspired Paul's initial hostility towards Christians. After his conversion, it requires a complete change in his thinking about obedience. I think we hear some of that in Philippians chapter 3. But at the same time, here in Acts 23, verses 6 through 9, it shows us an occasion where Paul's background as a Pharisee becomes the perfect asset. Let's take a look. Luke tells us, now when Paul perceived that one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, brothers, I am a Pharisee, a son of Pharisees. It's with respect to the hope and the resurrection of the dead that I'm on trial. And when he had said this, a dissension arose between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, nor angel, nor spirit, but the Pharisees acknowledge them all. Then a great clamor arose, and some of the scribes of the Pharisee party stood up and contended sharply, we find nothing wrong in this man. What if a spirit or an angel spoke to him? So aside from the problems that Jesus pointed out with the beliefs of the Pharisees, their belief in resurrection was on the right track. Now, they weren't ready to concede that Jesus rose from the dead and appeared to Paul, but at least knowing Paul's background makes them a bit more open to his claims. On a practical level, you see here that it divides the Jewish council, so they're not unified in opposition to Paul. And so just consider that there may be ingredients in your background that you might want to change. Things that you wish were different. Maybe things that are hard to overcome. Will you trust that they're part of God's plan, even if you can't see it? Believe in the wisdom of our sovereign God. It leads us to a fifth circumstance.